I know everything, Jenna. She froze mid-step, one foot on the bottom stair, her phone still in hand, face suddenly blank, as if someone had pressed pause on the entire world. Slowly, she turned to face me. Her eyes narrowed, scanning my expression like she was trying to figure out if this was a joke or a trap. What are you talking about? About Chase. The hotels. The late-night calls. That beige dress you swore was just for dinner with Lauren, but somehow ended up crumpled in the backseat of his truck. I know all of it. She didn't speak right away. Just stood there, silent, her eyes dropping for the first time in years. No excuses. No questions like, how did you find out? Just stillness. The anger was long gone. That burned out weeks ago. What I felt now was colder clarity and disappointment that left no room for drama. I don't know what you think you saw, she started, but I cut her off. I don't need theories. I have proof. Pictures. Recordings. You want to hear yourself say that he makes you feel alive? Because I've got that. In stereo. She took a step back, not out of fear, but because she realized something. Jenna, always the master of control, suddenly had no script. And without it, she had nothing. I placed the black folder on the kitchen counter. No theatrics. Just evidence. Motel receipts from Knoxville. Screenshots. A map of her locations, all logged thanks to her sync devices. You've got until Monday to sign the papers. If you don't, I send this to HR. To his supervisor. To your mom, if I have to. You're threatening me? No. I'm giving you a choice. Make it easy. Or don't, and lose everything. Jenna folded her arms, phone still in hand like it might offer an escape. But the screen stayed dark. No messages. No salvation. Just silence. Why would you do this, Noah? Were you following me? Spying? No. You left your iPad synced to our cloud. Your routes, your texts, your photos, they just came to me. That part hit her. She hadn't known. It showed on her face. What do you even want from this? To ruin me? No. To free myself. I'm not sleeping next to someone who laughs with another man, who strips for someone else and throws me scraps in the form of excuses. She didn't cry. I expected that. Jenna's tears were weapons, not reactions. She only used them when she needed control. Is that it? After everything we built? We didn't build anything. I built. You decorated your lie. She reached for one of the pages and skimmed it, probably looking for a loophole. Some opening to crawl through. But there wasn't one. What if I refuse? Then you leave with lawyers. With headlines. With everything that comes next. She looked down again. Shoulders slumped just slightly. For the first time since I met her, Jenna Wallace didn't look like the one who would win. You've changed, Noah. No. I just stopped being the fool you needed. It started with little things. Quiet shifts. Tiny misalignments you can ignore if you're still trying to believe the story you've been sold. The first time something felt off was on a Tuesday night. We had just finished dinner, and like always, I offered to do the dishes. Jenna stood, kissed me on the cheek, and said, heading out for coffee with Lauren, we'll be back early. Nothing strange about that. Lauren had been her best friend since college. But later that night, I was lying in bed, scrolling Instagram like I always do before sleep. That's when I saw it. Lauren had posted a photo an hour earlier. She was at a family gathering in Richmond, clearly not in town, clearly not with Jenna. I stared at the screen. Was it a mistake? A different Lauren? No, it was her. Jenna had lied. And for the first time, I didn't push the thought away. I didn't say anything the next morning. I didn't start a fight. I just watched. And once you start watching, you can't unsee what's right there. She started going to yoga without taking her workout clothes. She'd come home, exhausted from work, yet her hair was freshly styled, her makeup perfect, her perfume heavier, richer, bolder. The kind you don't wear to staff meetings. Our bed, once our sanctuary, turned into neutral ground. No touches. No laughter. Just cold space between two people who used to fit like puzzle pieces. Still, I didn't confront her. A part of me didn't want the truth. Another part hoped it was just a phase, that it would pass. But the silence between us grew. Dinners became wordless. We fell asleep facing opposite directions. Every time I tried to reconnect, there was a reason not to. A headache, deadlines, stress. Then came the night I noticed her phone left charging on the couch while she showered. I picked it up, not to snoop, but because I always did. Just to move it, usually. But now, it was locked. She never used to lock it. Something about that simple detail made my stomach turn. What had changed? A week later, the breaking point came. We were having dinner. I'd made her favorite pasta with sun-dried tomatoes. She barely touched it. Too busy tapping away on her phone. Everything okay? I asked. Yeah. Work stuff. Big end-of-month thing. She lied. I could see it in the way her eyes darted, and how quickly she changed the subject. That night, I called my cousin Logan. He's a software engineer in Denver. I told him I needed help tracking a device connected to our home network. No questions. Just action. Within 10 minutes, he texted, "Give me the serial number of her iPad. If it's still synced, I can pull access logs." The iPad was in our home office, never used, still connected to our shared Apple ID. When Logan sent the first batch of data, I felt like I'd swallowed ice. Locations, hotels, repeated patterns, screenshots of messages she had deleted on her phone, but that still lived in the cloud. And then came the audio files, clipped voice memos, background recordings. In one, I heard her say, "With Chase, I feel seen. Noah just exists when he needs something." Another clip, laughter, his and hers. Then her voice, "Chase is fire. Noah is fog." I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the screen, scrolling, reviewing, piecing together a reality I hadn't wanted to see. Not yet. But even then, I didn't act. I waited. Because if I was going to confront her, I needed her to believe I was still blind, still trusting. I wanted her comfortable in the lie. Only then could I bring her the truth she'd never see coming. I organized everything. Maps, logs, transcripts. I printed them out like court documents, like a case file. And the night she left in that beige dress, the one she hadn't worn for me in over a year, I knew she was heading to him. That's when I knew. The curtain was ready to fall. I'm not a detective. I'm not a hacker. I'm not even the suspicious type. But something in me flipped the first time I heard Jenna laugh on one of those recordings. That laugh wasn't for me anymore. It belonged to someone else. And it broke something I didn't know could still crack. From that moment on, every move I made had purpose. I wasn't acting out of rage. I was collecting clarity. The first technical step was simple. I pushed a silent tracking update to her phone through the synced iPad, something Logan helped me install. She never noticed. She rarely even touched the tablet. Every night, Logan sent reports. GPS logs, message previews, call records. All legal, all above board, all devastating. The pattern was unmistakable. Twice a week, after late meetings, she'd drive routes that never led to her office. Sometimes to hotels. Sometimes to a suburban address north of Nashville. One that kept popping up, 3409, Pine Hill Drive. Chase Bennett's condo. One Thursday, I waited until she left. She had her gym bag slung over her shoulder, told me she had a spin class and drinks with the team. I kissed her goodbye and said, "Have fun." She smiled, didn't even flinch. But that day, I left work early. I followed her, not closely, just 2 cars back, careful, slow. She parked right outside Pine Hill Drive. Chase was already waiting, in a gray tee and shorts. He hugged her like she belonged to him. She laughed, ran her fingers down his chest. Then they went inside, hand in hand. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just pulled out my phone and hit record, took stills, logged the time, the date, the coordinates. Then I drove home like nothing had happened. Each day after, I became more focused. I checked her deleted messages folder. I set up auto backups of her email and social media to her cloud. Nothing was hacked. I just used the access she left open. Careless. Or maybe confident that I'd never look. The evidence stacked up quickly. Screenshots of texts. "You're the only one who makes me feel alive. Noah and I barely talk anymore. You're my escape." He'd reply with emoji hearts. "Can't wait to feel you again." Like he was in some bad romance novel. And she lapped it up. Meanwhile, I played my role. Quiet husband. Distant, sure, but still predictable. Still trustworthy. She thought I was asleep while she texted him at midnight. She thought I hadn't noticed her stop wearing her ring. But I noticed everything. One day, she left a handwritten note in her purse. Same place. Same time. "Don't forget the fire." See? I didn't flinch. I added it to the file. That night, I opened a bottle of bourbon I'd saved for our anniversary. Drank it alone. No toast. Just slow, deliberate sips while staring at the window where we once sat planning vacations we'd never take again. And I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't lose control. No shouting. No begging. No drama. I'd end this the way she never saw coming, with evidence. With peace. With finality. The hunter doesn't scream. He waits. And I was ready to strike. But then came the twist I didn't expect. One night, buried in a rideshare audio clip, I heard a familiar sound, one that made my blood run cold. A laugh. Not hers. His. Chase. I played it twice. 3 times. Then again, in silence. It was him. My neighbor. My so-called friend. The guy who used to sit on my porch on Sundays, sipping beer, complaining about his ex. The guy who toasted me at our wedding. The one who said, "You've got a good one, man. Don't screw it up." He'd screwed it up for me. From the inside. I thought of all the favors. The job reference I helped him get when he was unemployed. The time I let him crash on our couch for 3 nights after a breakup. And all along, he was watching Jenna with those eyes. The betrayal cut deeper than hers. I started a second file, one just for him. Cross-referenced the nights she worked late with the dates he had company over. Found audio clips where he said, "See you tomorrow, Jen. Don't make me wait." His voice was soft, confident, too intimate for someone who once called me bro. I closed the laptop and stared into nothing. This wasn't just cheating. It was sabotage. And the only reason I hadn't broken yet was because I was saving everything for one clean shot. And it was coming soon. From that moment, everything changed. Jenna's betrayal hurt, but Chase's? That struck bone. I couldn't fake small talk anymore. Every time I saw him across the street, grabbing his mail, waving casually, walking his dog, I had to dig my nails into my palms to stay quiet, to keep playing the part. But I wasn't just waiting now. I was preparing. One evening, I watched him leave his house. He climbed into the same black SUV I'd seen in so many of the GPS logs. He drove downtown, stopped at a boutique liquor store, and came out with a bottle of red wine. Pricey, classy, not his taste. That bottle wasn't for him. It was for her. The next night, Jenna told me she had a late review meeting with her team. Same story. Same glazed look in her eyes when she said it. She kissed my cheek, told me not to wait up, and grabbed her keys. I smiled, wished her luck. Then I waited 10 minutes, got in my own car, and drove not after her, but to Chase's. His SUV was already in the driveway. The lights inside were low. I parked half a block away and walked the rest. No rush, no nerves, just quiet, cold clarity. Through the living room window, I saw her. Just a flash, her hair, her outline, the way she moved through his space like she belonged there. That was enough. No camera this time. No audio. I didn't need it. I turned around and walked back to my truck. And I smiled. That was the last piece. The final proof. They thought they were operating in the shadows. That I was still the same Noah, steady, naive, loyal to a fault. But they didn't realize I'd already made my move. They were just catching up to it. Not all wars are loud. Some are quiet, precise. And I wanted precision. I wanted closure. So I waited. The next Friday, Jenna had her usual excuse. Book club. The imaginary group she never described. The imaginary friends I never met. She wore a dark green dress. The one she used to save for our anniversaries. Red lipstick. Perfume that filled the hallway as she passed. "You look intense for poetry," I joked, sipping my coffee. She didn't laugh. Just said, "Sometimes it's nice to feel pretty." "Of course," I replied, without emotion. She left. I counted to 100. Then I opened the closet and pulled out the black folder. I reviewed everything one last time. Dates, maps, messages. The whole betrayal, organized into sections, locations, texts, audio, photos. Then I added one more, the divorce papers. I placed them all on the dining table with a pin. Then I turned off every light in the house except the small one under the kitchen cabinets. Mood matters. I sat on the stool, arms crossed, quiet. At 12:42 a.m., I heard the lock turn. She stepped inside like it was any other night, shoes in hand, hair tousled. She tossed her purse onto the table, exactly where I'd left the folder. She didn't see me at first. She flipped on the light and froze. I spoke before she could. "How was book club?" She whipped around, eyes wide. "What are you doing up?" "Waiting for your book review," I said, nodding at the folder. "Anything insightful?" She looked down, saw the photos, the texts, the timelines. Then she saw the papers. Her face lost all color. "What is this?" "This is the truth. And your exit." She reached for one of the pages. A screenshot. "With Chase, I feel seen. Noah's just background noise these days." Her hand trembled. "I can explain." "Don't," I said sharply. "You've explained enough in every message you thought I'd never read." She stepped back like she'd been hit. "You're serious?" "As a heart attack." She stared at me like she was trying to find the version of me she used to manipulate. The guy who once said, "I'll always trust you." But I wasn't him anymore. "If you don't sign by Monday, I take this to HR, to his boss, and anywhere else it needs to go." "I'm not bluffing, Jenna." "Not this time." Her jaw clenched. The soft voice she used to charm people disappeared. Her tone sharpened. "You've changed." "No," I replied. "You did. I just finally caught up." She didn't argue. She didn't cry. For the first time in years, she didn't know what to say. And I had nothing left to hear. She didn't sit down. Just stood there, like the documents on the table were explosives she might accidentally detonate. The silence stretched. Only the soft ticking of the wall clock filled the space between us. Finally, she asked, "What do you want from me?" "Nothing," I said. "Not anymore. Just your signature." She let out a breathless laugh. It wasn't humor. It was disbelief. Maybe desperation. "You're really going to throw away 8 years over a mistake?" I tilted my head. A mistake is one bad decision. This? This was a campaign. A series of deliberate choices. It wasn't like that. Then explain it. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She couldn't defend what she'd done without calling it exactly what it was. Calculated. Ongoing. Cold. "I was confused," she said finally, her voice soft. "I felt alone. You were always working, always distracted. We stopped connecting, Noah. We stopped talking, stopped touching. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, but I didn't know how to fix it. And instead of telling me that, you turned to someone else. Someone who used to sleep on our couch." Her face twisted, ashamed or just angry that I said it out loud. I didn't like who I was becoming. Then why keep going? I asked. Why not end it? Why not come to me with honesty instead of hiding behind lies and late meetings? No answer. Just silence again. "What did you want, Jenna? An affair? An escape route? Or were you waiting for me to catch you so I'd be the bad guy who left first?" "I don't know," she whispered. "It was different with him." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I'm sure it was. Everything's different when you don't have to deal with real life. When it's all secret rendezvous and stolen moments." She looked up. I sharp now. "Did you ever get tired of me, Noah? Did you never once think about being with someone else?" I let out a breath. Not a sigh, just a release. Of course I did. We're human. But I never stepped out. I never disrespected what we built. I never let curiosity become betrayal. She stepped closer. "I can end it. I'll cut him off. I'll do therapy. We can fix this." "We." I repeated. "What's left to fix?" "I still love you." I almost laughed. Not from amusement, but exhaustion. "You loved me while sneaking around for months? While mocking me in voicemails? While slipping out of my bed and into his arms?" She looked like she might cry, but I didn't care. "Not anymore. I made a mistake." "No. You made a decision." Over and over again. Her lips trembled. "I don't want you to hate me." "I don't," I said. "And that's what's going to hurt you the most." That stunned her. Because if I hated you, it would mean I still feel something. But I don't. Not hate. Not love. Not even anger. Just done. She was still for a long moment. Then, quietly, "What are you going to do now?" "Live," I said. "Alone, at peace, with no more secrets in my own house." She stepped back like that answer slapped her. "Someone else is going to get the best of you," she said bitterly. "Good," I replied. "Because you never wanted him." She stared at me a second longer, then turned toward the door. "You're making a mistake." "No," I said as I picked up my cup. "I'm finally correcting one." She left without another word, and I locked the door behind her, twice. Then leaned my forehead against the wood, not in pain, not in weakness. Just finality. The house felt different already. Quieter, cleaner, lighter. The scent of her perfume still lingered in the hallway, but not for long. I made tea, sat on the couch. No music, no noise, just me. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't dread the silence, because it wasn't emptiness anymore. It was freedom. The first few days after Jenna left were strange. Not painful, not exactly. Just unfamiliar. I kept waking up expecting her footsteps down the hallway. Her toothbrush was still in the bathroom. One of her scarves still hung behind the bedroom door. But they weren't wounds, just leftovers. Like the smell of smoke after the fire's already out. One morning, while sweeping the patio, I found something unexpected tucked under a planter by the back steps. A note, folded. No envelope. Her handwriting. "Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes we get lost without meaning to. I hope you find better." No signature. But I didn't need one. I didn't save it. Didn't reread it. Just tore it in half, then in half again, and dropped it into the trash can by the garage. Not from anger. Just because I didn't need it anymore. That same day, I started making changes. I didn't throw everything out. I wasn't trying to erase history, but I had to clean the space. Reclaim it. I changed the curtains in our bedroom, swapped the bedsheets, took down her framed quote art in the hallway and replaced it with an old photo I'd taken on a hiking trip years ago, one before I met her. Little things. I boxed up the wedding pictures, the vacation souvenirs, the anniversary cards she used to write like poetry. I didn't throw them out. Not yet. But I didn't want them looking at me every day like ghosts either. The house felt different, not just empty lighter. That weekend, I had coffee with a friend of my cousin Logan. Her name was Emily Brooks. We'd messaged a couple of times after Logan mentioned me. She wasn't trying to fix me. No pressure. Just coffee. We met at a little cafe downtown. We talked about music, books, the best places for tacos in the city. It wasn't life-changing, but it was easy. And I laughed. Not forced. Not to fill silence. Just real laughter. When I came home that evening, I found the front door cracked open. Only a little. Just enough to feel wrong. Inside, everything looked untouched. Except for one thing. The storage box, the one with the photos and cards and wedding memories I'd put in the garage closet, was gone. Nothing else. Not a shoe out of place. Not a light bulb shifted. But that box? Gone. I didn't need a detective. I knew. Jenna had been here. She didn't have a key anymore. Which meant either she'd made a copy before leaving or Chase still had his and handed it over. I didn't call the police. Not yet. I didn't want to escalate. I wanted it to be over. But that moment, it wasn't fear I felt. It was exhaustion. The kind that seeps into your bones. Jenna didn't want me. She wasn't here out of love or regret. She was here because I'd taken away her control. And she couldn't stand losing. That was what this had always been about, not romance. Not passion. Power. And for the first time since we met, I wasn't afraid to lose her. Because I already had. And she was never really mine to begin with. The house was quiet that night. Still. As if the walls were holding their breath. I made tea. Sat at the kitchen island. The radio played low in the background. I didn't think about the past. I didn't think about her. I just was. And that's when I heard the door open. No knock. No call ahead. Just the sound of her walking in like she still belonged. She stood in the living room, dressed like she was heading to a dinner party. New dress. New lipstick. Same old look in her eyes. The one she used when she was about to spin a story. We need to talk, she said, like she had any right to command that. No, I said, not moving from my seat. We don't. She closed the door behind her slowly, like she was still trying to set the tone. Still trying to control the room. Then she walked into the living area like it was hers. Like the last 2 weeks hadn't happened. Like she hadn't shattered everything. This can't be how it ends, Noah. It already ended, I said, still seated, still calm. You don't understand, she said, her voice softer now, rehearsed. I made a mistake. I let things get out of hand. I thought what I had with Chase was something real, but he's not who I thought he was. I nodded once. Neither are you. She faltered for a second. I thought he'd be there for me, she continued. But he bailed the minute things got hard. He said I was too emotional, that I brought too much drama. I raised an eyebrow. So now that your plan didn't work, you're back here hoping for a reset? She didn't like that. Her shoulders squared a bit. I came back because I miss us. No, I said. You came back because I didn't chase you. Because you didn't expect silence. She blinked. You expected heartbreak. A breakdown. Maybe a desperate message or two. And when that didn't happen, when you realized I'd gone quiet, truly quiet, you panicked. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I stood slowly. You don't love me. You love what I gave you. A sense of stability. An audience. A version of yourself you could tolerate. That's not fair, she whispered. No, Jenna. What's not fair is spending years with someone who was halfway out the door the entire time. She walked closer, slowly, like the space between us could still be closed. I'm sorry. I know I messed up, but I'm here. I'm standing here trying. You're not trying, I said. You're bargaining. You're looking for a soft place to land now that the one you chose collapsed. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't want to lose you. You already did. She reached for the table, steadied herself against it. So that's it? You won't even consider working through this? I looked at her, really looked, and saw a stranger who still wore my memories like armor. No, I said simply. Are you seeing someone else? Her voice suddenly sharpened. I had coffee with someone, I admitted. And it was the first time in months I didn't feel like I had to perform. Her jaw tightened. So that's what this is. You're replacing me. No, I said. I'm releasing myself. You're being cruel. No, I said again. I'm being clear. Something you never were. She looked at the living room, her eyes scanning the space that once felt like hers. But now it didn't welcome her. She turned toward the door, but paused. You'll regret this. I smiled softly, not in anger. Just honesty. I already regret staying as long as I did. That landed. Hard. She hesitated again, then left. This time, I didn't wait to hear her footsteps fade. I walked to the door, locked it, twice. Then I stood there for a moment, just breathing. She was gone. Not in pieces. Not in fury. Just gone. And I didn't feel lighter because she left. I felt lighter because I wasn't trying to carry her anymore. I didn't check the window to see if she lingered outside. I didn't watch her walk to her car. For the first time, I didn't care where she went after leaving. The door was shut. Locked. Not out of fear. Out of closure. The next morning, I opened all the windows. Let the spring air run through the house. I played old records. Made breakfast from scratch. Simple things. Eggs, toast, coffee, but it felt new again. Like the house had finally taken a deep breath after holding it for too long. The place no longer smelled like her perfume. It smelled like wood, clean cotton, and peace. I started rebuilding, not with grand gestures, but with quiet intention. I painted the wall in the dining room a shade of navy I'd always liked. Hung new frames with landscapes I photographed on solo road trips before I'd ever met her. I went for walks. Long ones. Sometimes with no destination. I reconnected with friends I'd let drift away during the years of compromise. Some were surprised to hear from me. Some weren't. They'd seen it coming. They said, just didn't know when I would. I didn't want to talk about Jenna anymore. Not with them. Not even with myself. I wanted to reclaim the version of me that existed before I became someone's second option. One Sunday, Emily texted again. We met at the same cafe. She brought me a book she thought I'd like. Essays on silence and survival. I didn't tell her everything. She didn't ask. We laughed. A lot. Not over drinks or fireworks. Just shared jokes, random memories, life. There was no pressure. No pretense. It felt like an open window. That night, I came home and opened the drawer where I'd kept the black folder, the one I used to confront Jenna. I took it out, flipped through the documents again. None of it hurt anymore. It was just paper now. I walked out to the backyard, lit the fire pit, and fed the pages to the flames one by one. Photos, logs, screenshots, audio transcripts. All of it. I watched them curl and crackle, turn to ash. Not with anger. With relief. With finality. That chapter was over. And I didn't need to reread it. By the time the last page burned, I wasn't thinking about Jenna. I was thinking about how quiet the world sounded without betrayal humming in the background. And it was beautiful. I didn't rebuild all at once. Healing didn't come in a flood. It came in steady drops, small, quiet moments when I realized I no longer missed what used to be. Some mornings, I'd catch myself pouring 2 cups of coffee out of habit. I'd stop, smile a little, and pour the second one down the drain. Not bitter, just aware. The hardest part wasn't losing Jenna. It was learning that someone could lie so smoothly for so long, and I still believed in her. That shook something deep, but I didn't let it define me. Over time, her presence faded. Her things were gone. The scarf behind the door, the toothbrush, the last strand of perfume in the closet, all erased like chalk after rain. Once, I found another note, left under my windshield at work. Her handwriting again. You're making a mistake. We could still fix this. I was just lost. I didn't respond. I didn't tell her that the real mistake had been trying to fix someone who broke me to feel whole. Instead, I threw the note away without reading it a second time. I was done looking for closure from people who benefit from keeping you open. Emily and I saw each other again. Then again. It never turned into something heavy. It didn't have to. We talked about childhood, music, the worst movies we loved. She never pried. Never tried to patch something she didn't break. Being around her didn't feel like walking on glass. It felt like sitting in the sun. She didn't ask me to be anything other than myself. And after years of shrinking to fit inside someone else's story, that felt like freedom. One night, I stood in front of the mirror and saw myself again. Not the man Jenna reshaped, not the one Chase betrayed, but the one I'd almost forgotten. Noah Carter. Flawed. Learning. Standing. Not perfect. Just whole. If you're reading this, maybe late at night, maybe on a day when the silence feels heavier than it should, let me say this. You're not broken. You're waking up. You don't have to beg someone to stay. You don't have to chase someone who hides their love in locked phones and late-night excuses. You are not hard to love. They were just too small to hold it. True love doesn't leave you wondering if you're enough. It doesn't make you doubt what you see with your own eyes. And it never asks you to silence your intuition for the sake of comfort. So if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Then walk away with your head high and your heart intact. Because real peace? It doesn't come when they come crawling back. It comes when you stop hoping they will. I don't hate Jenna. She was a lesson. A hard one. But when I need it. Sometimes the most painful endings are the beginnings that finally tell the truth. And mine? It's just getting started. No revenge. No resentment. Just a man with open windows, a fire pit full of ashes, and a heart that finally beats for him. Peace, real peace, isn't quiet. It's honest. It's earned. And now, it's mine.